Hey guys, Tom here, and today I am bringing you my review for WWE Raw for the 19th of September 2016. So last week's Monday Night Raw, it got a pretty bad rating. It got a 1.8, which is really bad. So clearly, this week they attempted to bounce back from that and had some pretty big moments on this week's show to bounce back from the horrific show we got last week. Now, I didn't think last week's show was that bad. Some people thought it was horrible. They really hated it. But this week's show, I'm sure we can pretty much agree, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed this week's show. We got a cage match, the debut of the Cruiserweights, and much more. So let's talk about everything which happened on this week's show. So firstly, we got Roman Reigns coming to the ring, and he was cut off by Stephanie McMahon and then Mick Foley. We got a few matches announced. So we got Rollins against Rusev announced, and the steel cage match between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. So that was a rematch from last week's show. So we then got Seth Rollins against Rusev, which ended up ending in a double countout, but I thought this was a really clever match. Now, firstly, it was really entertaining. It was back and forth stuff, very enjoyable. But what I thought was clever was it ended in double countout. Now, both guys, they really did not need a loss here. Now, Seth Rollins is challenging Kevin Owens for the title in 6 days, so obviously he couldn't take the loss. And also Rusev, he's just come back, he's been missing for a while, and he couldn't really take a loss either. So what happened was, it ended in double countout, which saved both guys' momentum, and I thought that was pretty clever. But that doesn't take anything away from the match. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It got plenty of time, and it was a great way to start this week's Monday Night Raw. I'd actually like to see this match again, because it was actually pretty good. So it ended in double countout, which is sort of a unique way to end the match. We haven't seen that for a while on Monday Night Raw, and I thought the really cool moment was when Seth Rollins dived off the stage near the announcer's table onto Rusev. That was pretty awesome, and the match itself was actually pretty good. So we then got Dana Brooke and Charlotte backstage, and Dana Brooke once again talked Charlotte into a match accidentally. So it will now be a triple threat match at Clash of Champions: Bayley, Charlotte, and Sasha Banks. This match is the match we wanted, and we're going to get it. So that should be absolutely awesome. Another great match for Clash of Champions. There really are some great matches on this pay-per-view. But once again, Charlotte slaps Dana Brooke. I mean, we've seen this about 5 times, and you think, oh, is this finally the time Dana Brooke is going to walk away from Charlotte? And then the next week, she's with her again. So I don't know about this, but there we go. We get the match we wanted at Clash of Champions. That should be pretty good. We then got Braun Strowman in another match, another jobber match against Sin Cara, and once again, Braun Strowman wins his match. I'm not sure how Braun Strowman fits on the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. It would be good to get him on the show, because he is actually quickly becoming one of the most important parts of Monday Night Raw. So how he fits on that pay-per-view, I'm not sure. Will we get a rematch between Sin Cara and Braun Strowman? That might be a way to do it, but hopefully, fingers crossed, Braun Strowman actually gets on the pay-per-view, because so far I am really enjoying these jobber matches. They're becoming legendary. They're quite funny. They're quite enjoyable, and I think it's really becoming a big week of a big part of every show we get each Monday Night Raw. That Braun Strowman has his big jobber match. They're actually becoming really enjoyable, and I'm actually quite enjoying them. Now we then got Charlotte and Dana Brooke defeating Sasha Banks and Bayley. Now this once again was a really good women's match. Last week we got a great triple threat match between Dana, Bayley, and Banks, and this week we got Charlotte and Dana against Sasha Banks and Bayley. I was pretty surprised that Charlotte won. She got a really big boot in and knocked the head off of Bayley, but this was actually a really good match. They got loads of time, which of course is great for the women to be getting so much time recently. They got loads of time last week, they got loads of time this week, and they really do show what they can do. And this was a fantastic match once again. I really enjoyed it. Pretty surprised that Charlotte won, because she's the champion. You would have thought the challengers, Banks and Bayley, would have won this match, which does kind of maybe suggest that maybe we are getting a title change at Clash of Champions, because usually the challengers would have won this match. It's surprising that Sasha and Bayley didn't win this match. So why is Charlotte winning this match if she's the champion? That didn't really make a lot of sense. So maybe Sasha might be picking up the title at Clash of Champions. I don't think Bayley's going to win the title. I don't think she's ready yet. I'm not sure. Maybe this is a suggestion that Charlotte is dropping the belt at the pay-per-view. That could be pretty interesting. We'll talk about that later on this week in my predictions video. But Bo Dallas defeats Gary Graham, another jobber. We don't really care about this match that much. I think Bo Dallas, it's great that he's changed things up once again. He's moved away from the social outcasts and he's doing the Bo Dallas gimmick once again, but it doesn't really seem like the crowd are really getting into it. I don't know, there's not much substance to the gimmick. I don't know, I'm not sure. I want it to work, but I don't see how it's going to work that well. But we once again got a best of 7 series match between Cesaro and Sheamus, and this was something I didn't feel like it was going to work that well. I mean, 7 matches between Cesaro and Sheamus, but they go out there every single week and they put on a really good match, and somehow each match feels different. Now, I wasn't really a huge fan of their match last week, but I really enjoyed this match. I thought this was a very, very good match. Once again, Cesaro and Sheamus have a great match. Now, they did make the series a little bit predictable. It was pretty obvious Cesaro was going to win here, and we're going to go to Clash of Champions for the final 7th match. But overall, this series has been a success. I've really enjoyed it. Once again, on tonight's Monday Night Raw, they have another great match. I mean, it's been fantastic. Sheamus has really improved as the series has gone by, and he has really proved to the universe himself that he can put on a fight with the best. And this was a great match once again between Cesaro and Sheamus. I think maybe at the pay-per-view they should add a stipulation like a cage match, no DQ, TLC match, something exciting, because it's the last and final match. It's the conclusion to this huge 7 series we've had for the last 2 months. So surely they should have a big match to end it. I think maybe they should do that. It doesn't sound like that's what they're going to do, but I definitely think their match at Clash of Champions is going to be really good, because it could go either way. I'm thinking Cesaro right now, but this series has been a success and I've really enjoyed it. So we then got Chris Jericho coming to the ring with his list of Jericho, which I think could be a thing. He could make this really, really funny, and he did make it pretty funny. This segment was a bit of a mess. You got Enzo and Cass coming out, the Shining Stars coming out, then the New Day coming out. I wasn't that impressed with it. It was okay, it was a bit of a mess, but the match we got after it was also a bit of a mess. I'm never really a fan of these big tag matches they have. So the New Day, Enzo, Cass and Sami Zayn defeat Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, the Shining Stars, and Chris Jericho. Loads of names in this match. It wasn't that impressive. It didn't really do much for me, but at the end of the day, at least everybody got on the show, and that was that. So Mick Foley introduced the Cruiserweight division. He had a bit of a botchy speech. He slipped on his words multiple times, but so do I in my videos, so I'm sure we can ignore that. So we got Rich Swann, Gran Metalik, Cedric Alexander and Brian Kendrick, the Brian Kendrick, on Monday Night Raw. And Brian Kendrick won that epic fatal 4-way match. So Brian Kendrick will face TJ Perkins at Clash of Champions. I thought it was a bit crap that they didn't have the Cruiserweight champion on Monday Night Raw. I thought that was a big downfall of this week's show. They should probably have had the Cruiserweight champion on this week's show, considering he only won the belt on Wednesday in the finale of the Cruiserweight Classic. It was a bit weird that he wasn't on this week's show, considering it was a high-stakes match, and he should have been establishing his character before Sunday, because on Sunday we're going to see the champion for the first time, which is a bit weird. Brian Kendrick wins this match, which is pretty interesting. I like the fact that Cedric Alexander got his gut check finisher in, and then Brian Kendrick sort of sneaked behind him and got the pin. And got him to tap out, because Cedric Alexander, he's the fan favourite, so Brian Kendrick kind of like screwed Alexander out of his win, and Brian Kendrick moves to the #1 contenders match, the final match at Clash of Champions. So that match should be pretty good. Brian Kendrick on a pay-per-view once again. This should be pretty awesome. I really liked how they had the purple lights come down for the Cruiserweight match. I'm not sure if they're going to do that every single week, but it made it feel kind of special, but the match itself was awesome. I think if they did this match 5 times, I don't think they could have made it as good as this one. This was a great way to start the Cruiserweight division on Monday Night Raw. I really enjoyed it. I think Gran Metalik is amazing. He's an amazing Lucha Libre star. He could really take over Rey Mysterio and become a huge star in the WWE. Rich Swann is great, got great charisma. Cedric Alexander is awesome. People love him as well. And Brian Kendrick, we know what Brian Kendrick can do. So they brought up the 4 best talents they've got. Really enjoyed this match, and I can't wait for other Cruiserweight matches. Also, we got the main event, the steel cage match, Roman against Kevin Owens. I wasn't a huge fan of this match. I never really enjoy cage matches that much. You can't really see what's going on, but it was okay. I mean, we kind of saw this match last week, so it was just kind of what we saw last week, really. And the ending was a bit weird. You got Roman Reigns do a really cool Superman punch off the top rope onto Kevin Owens, who was climbing up the cage. But then they both kind of like escaped the match, the cage, and that was it, really. There wasn't a big spear moment. There wasn't a big pop-up powerbomb. There wasn't anything really like that. They both really just escaped, and that was it. And Roman Reigns won the match, which is okay. I mean, it didn't really matter who won this match because it wasn't for anything. But then Rusev came out. He locked Roman Reigns in the cage with Kevin Owens. We got Seth Rollins do an awesome dive off the cage, and Seth Rollins stands tall. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good Monday Night Raw. Obviously, the cage match was okay. I mean, I suppose it could have been better. I never really enjoy cage matches, but the Cruiserweight division is looking awesome. That Fatal 4-Way match was sick. We got a really, really cool match between Charlotte and Dana Brooke against Banks and Bayley. The Best of 7 series match was great. Rollins against Rusev was really good as well. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good Monday Night Raw. I'm going to give this week's show a 7.5 out of 10. It wasn't good enough to get an 8, but it wasn't that bad. It was solid, really good show. They definitely bounced back from last week. I think Clash of Champions has got some really good matches. Sami Zayn against Jericho, Rollins against Kevin Owens. We've got some really epic matches. We've got Bayley, Charlotte, and Dana Brooke. We've got the tag team titles on the line. I mean, it's looking like a great pay-per-view. We've got Cesaro against Sheamus as well. We've got Brian Kendrick against TJ Perkins, but it doesn't really feel like the storylines have any sort of beef to them. They're not even storylines. They're great matches. We're going to have a great pay-per-view, but they don't really mean anything. They haven't built up this pay-per-view that well. I don't feel like Rollins and Kevin Owens have really interacted that much on screen, and I can say that really about every single feud. I mean, they have had 5 weeks to build this show since SummerSlam, and it still kind of felt a little bit last minute on this week's show. But what did you guys think? 7.5 out of 10 from me. Smash the likes, subscribe for daily WWE videos, and follow me on Twitter. Thanks for watching, take care, spike your hair.